Oh, hi. What is this, a giant dog festival?
Yes.
It always is. You know, why do you limit yourself to two?
I know. Okay, where do we even start with where we're at with the January 6th? So obviously that was an epic slapdown by Judge Chutkin saying, you know, you ain't president, bitch. I'm just paraphrasing.
Well, yes. It was implied. The bitch was silent.
America doesn't have kings, and presidents aren't kings, and you aren't president.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, you know, I don't know if you saw, we've been talking about Joyce White. Vance wrote a piece about, you know, basically just trying to calm us about the Steve Bannon, you know, contempt thing. She wrote a whole piece. Steve Bannon's subpoena case is taking longer than we want it to. That's a good thing. She said subpoena for Steve Bannon to testify, it seems straightforward, right? The contempt seems pretty straightforward. She references the prosecution in 1983 of Rita Lavelle, who was EPA head of the EPA's toxic waste programs. The government lost that case. So, and she said, there's an old saying prosecutors like to repeat to one another, if you shoot at the king, you best not miss. Roughly translated, that means don't indict a suspect before your evidence is in place. The government bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest standard of proof we use in our legal system. And to meet that burden, the prosecution must have admissible evidence of guilt. Prosecutors can't rely on what everyone thinks or what they know or what people believe, ensuring they have evidence to establish every element of a crime, even in a matter that seems as self-proving as this one, takes time and effort. Silence doesn't mean inaction. Frustrating, it means we don't know what work is or isn't in progress. So what are your thoughts on what is that? Because obviously, Bannon's the first domino. All these other subpoenas just issued, they're not going to comply if Bannon's not forced to comply, right?
Well, I in fact, I was on air with Joyce Vance when we had this discussion last Saturday.
Right.
And she came out and she said, listen, these things are not quick. They are not things which happen, you know, rapidly. They have to not only get the evidence, they have to do the paperwork, and more importantly, they have to impanel a grand jury.
That's what she was saying, that we wouldn't know whether there's a grand jury or not, but if there is, that takes time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, that could take a little bit of time. The point is, I don't think he's going to get away with it. Okay. I think that they will indict him because it's pretty clear. And we need that. We need that principally because now you have some really big players. One of my favorites, Stephen Miller, and Michael Flynn.
And Kayleigh McEnerney, all that were in the new subpoenas. Miller and
there's that wingding too. I suspect she'll probably try to talk, but Mike Flynn and the rest, they all have a vested interest in not opening their mouths, and they're all watching very carefully what happens with Steve Bannon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Steve Bannon, of course, is the one who's he's like a primate that flings his refuse at people. So he is going to be the test case, and I suspect it'll come back. However, Steve Bannon is also the kind of guy who will go to jail for 183 days, right? Or whatever it was in the case of in the Monica Lewinsky case. So, you know, we need to be prepared for that. There was a really good comment by Thom Nichols the other day, and I know on the left we got a lot of flack from it. But he said, you know, these things just don't happen instantaneously. What you need to do is stop waiting for the anvil to drop from the sky. You guys know, never been a big supporter of what I call Blue Anon, right? Mm-hmm. That Louise Mensch, Donald Trump is secretly being indicted by the Supreme Court and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, those fantasy baseball things are just that. We have to let the law take its course. Is the Justice Department doing stuff? Yes. I suspect that we want Merrick Garland, though, to be a little more aggressive, to be a little more active. But, you know, for all the talk of a duck treading, furiously underwater, hey, we didn't have that with Bill Barr, right?
Yeah.
We knew when the Justice Department was doing things because there was action. And I would like to see our Justice Department show a little more resourcefulness rather than try to maintain the pillars of an institution, which will be pulled down brick by brick next November if we lose the House of Representatives.
Yep. Well, I think the Tom Nichols, I'm not sure if this is the one you were talking about. He said the strategy for fighting an authoritarian movement is to build the biggest coalition you can assemble of people who agree with you as broadly as possible, not to insist that they must jump through your intellectual hoops and pass your wickets before you accept their vote. And you just said, damn, it's a word of the day. Absolutely right. We must stop locking ourselves into the I'm a single issue voter stovepipe. We must all win this battle with authoritarianism. Winning the Congress and Senate in November 22 is the next step. And I agree with you. Like, I don't like these labels, like the same kind of Democrat's not going to run everywhere around the country. It is essential to avoid fascism that you vote blue no matter who, period.
And he was excoriated for that comment. I saw a lot of people on the left doing that. Well, we shouldn't give up childcare. We shouldn't give up that. You know what? We're getting to the point where you may be giving up everything. We said this last year. We said this last year in the run-up to the 2020 election. You may be giving up every component of American life in your choice if we don't band together as a giant coalition, anti-Trump Republicans, far left, far right, far left, progressive left, and you may have to compromise on some things. If right now we're waiting for the Build Back Better, to be voted on. And yes, it had to be skinnied down. Yes, that's the way sausage is made. But if you say I'm a single issue voter, and if I don't get that issue, I won't vote. You voted for authoritarianism. You will never get that issue.
Yeah.
Look at abortion now, right? Yeah. If we lose next November to the House of Representatives, if there is not a reverse blue wave, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Donald
I'm going to.
I
forgot to, but I'm pre-bitch slapping John Fugelsang this week because he used, the label for Terry McAuliffe of neoliberal establishment, and I'm like, you know what, John? I've been called that, and I voted for Elizabeth Warren. And so, like, what is the point of these effing labels at this point? Like, Look,
I'll tell you what Terry McAuliffe was. I'll give you the label that he really should have got. Dull.
Yeah.
He was not.
He's not a great candidate. He's
nothing to excite the base. Mm-hmm. So all of you who are out there who hear this, okay, if you have to be exciting, the 1 year you need to offer radical solutions if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Thom Nichols is right. Get rid of your labels. Get rid of your single issue. Vote for the preservation of democracy again.
Thank you.
We only went into extra innings. We didn't win the game.
Yep. And by the way, I love that you said insurrectionists are defecting to Russian-backed dictatorships. Yeah. I've been dying to say this. America, love it or leave it. I mean, of course, this insurrectionist flees to Belarus, right? I mean, it's just, okay.
Wanted by the FBI, which means now they're going to put out an international red notice on this guy. He is a wanted fugitive from U.S. justice. And I can't wait. Now, the problem is he went to the Belarusian dictatorship, which is under technical control of Vladimir Putin. This guy, and you know what? I want more of them to do it. If you don't think that you should be here, like what if Marjorie Taylor Greene says, open season on patriots, it's also open season for quote unquote patriots to start defecting to America's most traditional enemies, to the last major dictatorship in Eastern Europe, the Belarus. Okay, America, love it or leave it. Hit the road. You don't want to be here.
It's road, Jack.
Fight for it, and you want to attack the Capitol, and then you go to a dictatorship. Mark my words, that guy will have a Russian Russia Today TV show.
Yeah. There you go.
Propaganda and tearing down America is going to be his job.